Dear Almighty and ever-loving God, we glorify and thank your name. You have showered us with so many blessings, and your presence continuously reminds us of your faithfulness and guidance. May you bestow your blessings after this seminar so that we may go out and spread what we have learned in the spirit of your love and generosity. May we realize that this activity should glorify your name. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this.
Give us this
Day
day
our
our
daily
daily
bread,
bread.
and forgive us our trespasses as we
Yes.
forgive those who
Forgive those
trespass
who
against
trespass
us.
Against
against
us.
us,
And
and
lead
let
us
us
not
not fall
into
into
temptation,
temptation,
but
but
deliver
deliver
us
us
from evil.
from evil. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy
Holy
womb,
Holy
Mary,
Jesus.
Mary,
Mother
Holy
of
Mary,
God,
Mother
pray
of
for
God,
us
pray for us
sinners now
pray
sinners.
and
for
at
us
the hour of our
sinners,
death.
now and at the
Amen.
hour of our death. Amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit,
As it was
as
in
Was
it
the
in
was
the
in the
beginning,
beginning.
is now, and ever shall be, world without endowment. I request Rehan to introduce the speaker.
Okay, thank you, Sanya. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So for today's session, that is anger management, we have Father Ternan. Father Ternan was born in Bandra. He studied at St. Stanislaus High School, Bandra, and after that he did his graduation at St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. He was ordained in the year 2011 at GAS. Father Ternan has also done post-graduation diploma in counseling at Montfort College, Bangalore. Father now resides in Premanjali Counseling Center, GAS, and he is a counselor there. Every year when we have a youth retreat in Premanjali, the youth are always enriched by his meaningful session. We are honored to have Father Turner among us. So Father Turner, over to you.
Thank you very much. Okay. The topic for today is anger management. Okay. Something which is all of us are very much familiar with. At every moment in our life, we get angry. Can you all hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, Father, very
Yes,
clear.
Father.
Perfect. Okay. So anger management is something, when we look at anger management, I think it's a right word to use, because basically every emotion, including anger, exists in us, whether we like it or not. But like in any management studies that you do, you have to learn something about anger before you can even think about managing it. So for example, when you say what is management, okay, you have the MBA and other courses that are teaching people not just managing things, but to be able to set a goal. If I have a particular goal in mind, then I see what are the resources I have in the form of persons, in the form of things, and it's like using these resources to be able to achieve my goal. So when we look at it in the context of anger management, it is something quite similar. What we're basically saying is, how do I manage anger? What are the resources that I have to be able to help me control anger? Now, when it comes to anger, as it is with any other emotion, never try to control it. We're just trying to look after it to see what is it trying to tell us and using it for our own benefit. So if you make a goal for yourself saying, I don't want to be angry, it will be quite a negative goal to really put before you. What you need to do is to understand anger properly so that you will be able to adjust yourself and see how I can deal with it. So that's what we're going to be looking at. I don't have like a full structured way of being it. There will be different points pertaining to different forms of anger or different ways in which we can cope with anger or deal with anger. So that is what I would like to begin with. Okay. So let us come to the most important thing. See, feelings, whether you call it emotions, which are more dense feelings, are in all of us. And no feeling is either good or bad. All feelings have a purpose. That is why they exist in us. Right from the time you were born till the time you die, there will always be feelings going on in you. A child experiences feeling, even a baby is experiencing feelings. Okay, it's just that they cannot express it, so we really don't know. But in the form of crying or doing other things, they're automatically trying to show you that something is going on within them. When a child is hungry, it starts crying. which means it is longing for something. The feeling of anxiety begins to exist in the child, and therefore there are problems that the child wants to show to its parents or anybody else who's looking after you. Now, when we look at feelings in a very strong way, they are residue. They are products of something that is happening in our lives. For example, somebody shouts at you, that's an event. Now, the event will cause something in you, which is the emotions to come up. And based on that, you will make a choice as to how you want to respond to it or how you want to react to it. So, anger is something very similar. It has a purpose. That is one of the most important things with anger. Anger exists for a particular reason, like any other feeling. So, in order to really be able to manage anger, we have to see how does anger operate. What is anger trying to tell us? What is anger trying to do for us that will enable us, to look into it and say, okay, fine, this is what anger wants of me, and this is what I need to do in return. So you have, for example, it's wrong to say that they are either positive or negative. There are no positive or negative feelings. Feelings are feelings. It is the way we respond or react that will make them either positive or negative. Anger can be very good if it is really used in the right way. Sadness is good. Any other feeling that we talk about, which we look at as negative, all have a particular role to play in our lives. And therefore, it's wrong to say that, this is a good feeling, this is a bad feeling. Feelings exist. They don't know whether they are good or bad. They only know that they have to tell you something. And most of the time, the problem with us is we have not been able to understand what our feelings are telling us. And that is very important with anger. We are not able to understand what anger is saying. Once we realize the dynamics of anger, you'll realize it becomes very easy to start controlling it. Okay? And what I share with you right now is something not just going to happen overnight. You're not going to stop being able to control your anger overnight. It takes time. It's a process. But the question is to challenge yourself and say, do I really want to accept this process of being able to be more in control of myself, especially my feelings of anger and other things? Okay. See, when you talk about anger now, there are different types. You have a spectrum. You may have mild anger, which is okay, I'm irritated, little bit frustrated, to the other extreme, which is also a lot of rage. I experience a lot of anger, like aggression type of anger. I want to hit somebody, I want to break things, etc. And at times we have this going on in us. So, in other words, anger is there, but the way we are being affected and the way we are interpreting things is what makes us react in this particular way. So that's what is something we're going to see. For example, you have irritation. Okay, one type of anger. You have rage, which is a very, very strong type of anger. You may have disgust. You just don't like certain people. Like, you just get very upset when they are around you. Okay, that's a form of anger. Not very happy to be in the presence of that particular person. You may have envy, jealousy. That is also a form of anger in a way, because you don't like certain things about that person and then you get very angry because that person is there or around you. Okay. So when we look at anger, how does anger operate? Like any feeling. Now, the thing with us is every situation creates emotions. Right now, you all are listening to me. There will be some feelings coming up in you. When you're in college or when you're at work, something happens in the office, it is feelings that come in. And as these feelings come into us, we tend to begin to interpret situations. I look at it and say, this is a particular thing that is happening, and this person is doing it because this fellow doesn't like me, and therefore we tend to react or respond according to the interpretation. For example, if you send a message to a friend of yours and the person doesn't reply, okay, fine. You send another message. By the end of the day, you have sent about 30 messages, and this person doesn't reply. Now you begin to get angry. You begin to get frustrated because you're interpreting, I've sent a message, this person doesn't seem to be interested in responding. Why is he not replying or why is she not replying? One message understood, 30 messages, by now there should be some reply. And therefore, I'm interpreting that this person doesn't seem to be very interested in chatting with me. So as a result of which, the emotion starts to come up to help me to cope with it. So I get angry. Wait, let this person reply. call up and see what I will do to this person. As something that person will call up and you will not answer the phone. You may not want to respond to the messages because you have interpreted that this particular person has done this for this reason. And because of that, your emotion has come up. And I think that's very much with anger. Anger is just a form of interpretation. We are interpreting things as we go through our life, through situations, and that interpretation allows us to either respond or to react. The difference between react is we don't think too much. It's like saying a mosquito bites you, just do that. That's a reaction. Respond is you spend time thinking, okay, fine, this person has done this, said this, what this person's intention was, and things like that. It is more a mental process that helps you to slow down so that you can respond, which means which is most apt. It's like saying if somebody shouts at you, you may not necessarily shout back, but you will be able to be firm enough to tell the person you didn't like it. That is called responding. You don't become like the other person or do what the other person has done to you. Okay? But the thing is, we have rarely spent time actually understanding this part of anger. That is why most of the time we are reacting. Anything happens, we either shout back or we just don't want to talk to a particular person. And that's how we have developed this habit right from childhood. As they say, there are two types that we normally have, no? It's either I fight with you when I'm angry, or if, for example, a child gets very angry and starts screaming and does something and gets one hard slap from the father. After that, the child is angry, but it will not react that way. It will go and sit in the corner, ask the father, ask the son, go and do this. No, sits quietly there because it's his or her way of dealing with anger. They have learned to operate like this. And that is something which we will be looking at, is to see how do you operate when you're angry. Because all these points will help you understand to some extent what is going on in you. Okay. I'll try to give you some personal examples from my own life so that you'll be able to understand what I'm trying to tell you better. Okay. So that's what we're trying to say. Every situation creates a certain way we look at it, as a result of which we respond or we react like that. For example, even the present lockdown has caused a lot of problems for people. Now they're interpreting it as a possibility that, if this continues, we'll have no money, we'll have no this, and as a result of it, they're interpreting it as we may have to suffer, we may have to struggle, and because of that, more and more anxiety comes up. And with anxiety also comes a certain amount of anger. And they find that very much getting very frustrated at home. There have been a lot of counseling going on the phone, okay, for many people, including myself. And much of this is coming from that. There's a lot of frustration coming up in them, not because of what is just happening in the house, but because of other factors. And because they are interpreting this as a problem and as a struggle, and as a most likely they'll have to struggle in the future, they get more and more angry, and that anger is now spreading in the family. So that's what we call the dynamics of anger. It exists for a particular purpose. And if we are able to really understand what its purpose is, 50% of your anger has already gone out of your system. Okay. And that's what we'll be looking at also, my dear friends, is that to be able to remove anger, I will give you some experiences from my own life to show you how dangerous anger can be if it is kept down within us. We need to find ways to release it. But as I said with management, in order to release anger, you have to first know how it operates. You have to first know what it is doing inside you. What is it trying to say to you? Okay. So right now, one way of seeing it is nobody makes you angry. Oh, he made me angry. She made me angry. No one makes us angry. We choose to use anger as a response. I can either be silent, I can either be sad, I can either be something else, I can even be happy if somebody shouts at me. The point is, I'm choosing this particular feeling or this way of responding. And anger is always a choice. We are choosing it for a particular purpose. And as long as we realize why we are choosing it or what is it that we are using it for, if you are able to see that, there's a high chance we'll be able to understand it better and finally find a way to remove it, which I will give you some techniques at the end of the talk. Okay, so keep this as the most important factor. Every emotion that exists in us, especially when we use it to show somebody something, it is always our choice. Nobody can make you sad, nobody can make you angry either. It is you who choose to let anger come into you and develop into something more like a shield, as we would say, and as we would call it. we will see later on. Okay, okay. Let us take this way. Whenever we look at it in this perspective, let us take a couple going to a mall. Okay, we know, say D-Mart. They are at D-Mart. They are buying certain things and moving around, and the lady just takes one bag and she puts it in another bag, and then the husband howls at her, screams at her, says, "What are you doing? How many times have I told you not to put it in?" And one big Mahabharat Ramayana takes place in the mall. Now what happens to this lady? Most likely she's going to be very upset, very angry. Okay, and in her mind is, wait, you come home and you see whether you're getting food or not today. Okay, there's that anger. Fine, even while they're going back, most likely she will not talk to the husband. He may try to talk to her. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, that is it. Now, I've just not told you that anger is used for a particular reason. We use anger for a particular purpose. Okay, and one thing we need to know is that anger is always a shield. There is something going on below that actually has to be seen. Anger is used to protect ourselves. Now, in this case, the wife goes home. She may not even talk to the husband for a couple of days or couple of whatever, and it'll go on. Now, what is really going on in her is a very important question to ask ourselves. Is she really angry? Maybe, but most likely she's embarrassed. She's shocked that in front of everybody over there, my husband shouted at me. She's feeling very embarrassed, very, it's a kind of, what will people say, and what maybe some people may have even laughed at me, etc. And because of that, she uses anger to protect herself, which means as long as I am angry, my husband will be kept away because I'll be looking in the other direction when he's talking to me. When he asks for something, I'll say, go do it yourself. I'm not interested. That type of a thing. Because now she's learning to use anger in a particular way. Excuse me, I'll just put the for charging. Okay. So now what is she doing by this anger? Indirectly, what she's trying to do is automatically, by being angry, she's keeping her husband at bay. She's keeping the husband at a distance, which means as long as you're at a distance from you, you cannot harm me again. So that is what she's feeling. She's feeling hurt more than angry because she was insulted. She felt embarrassed that her husband shouted at her in public. And therefore, as long as she is well protected, after some time when the husband says sorry and really she realizes maybe it's not such a big threat to her anymore, the anger automatically goes off and they're back to normal. So this is one clear example to show us how anger is always a shield. And one way to understand our anger is to see what are we trying to protect, what is really going on within us for us to see that. Okay, you are not your emotions. Okay, you are not angry. Oh, he's such an angry person. All the time there's anger, anger, anger. Such an angry person. Nobody is all the time angry. It is that they are choosing to be angry all the time. They are choosing anger as a response in almost every situation. But if you go and look within them what is happening, there's a high chance there's something different happening, something much stronger. Okay? And you need to look at it in that particular way. The same thing with sadness. You're not sad person, you're always sad. You're choosing sadness to help you cope with a particular situation. Okay, the same with happiness. So when you basically are going to deal with anger, that's what we're going to move into right now. You'll have got some idea of what anger is all about. But the point right now is, how do we deal with it? What do we need to do to be able to control it? As I said, you can't remove anger from your system. It will always be there. It has something to tell you, learn how to read it. Now, for example, when somebody hurts me, how did I respond? And why did I respond? The person, I was angry with the person because the person maybe embarrassed me. Okay, take this couple. Fine, she's embarrassed. She's angry. She showed anger towards the husband, especially in the way she was behaving with him for a couple of days or a couple of hours, depending. And then when she looks at it, she says, no, actually, I was not angry with him. I was more embarrassed. No? It felt so, like, I felt insulted at the mall that he could actually shout at me when I was trying to be nice to him. You see, anger was used to protect her. herself. Once the fear, the danger has been removed, there is no need to cling to the anger. But if we are not careful and it goes on for a long time, it gets suppressed within us. And that is where anger can become very, very dangerous. Okay. So that is one thing we need to see. For example, let us say you come home now after this talk, if you have a brother or a sister, and you realize you have just kept the mobile on the table and you have gone to do some work, and they come and they start playing with the mobile or they start reading some messages and things like that. Your most strong reaction say, "What are you doing? Put the phone down," and things like that. No? Maybe it's not put the phone down, maybe there's inside a bit of a fear if they read my messages or they will use something against me, etc. These are the different things. So we are interpreting situations as a result of which we tend to react in this way. Again, we are interpreting the fact that if they read the message, it's just a wild example, I'm not saying it's true. It's just like, okay, if they read the message, they may go and tell mommy or they may go and tell somebody else, as a result of which I may have to experience embarrassment later on. So that interpretation automatically says, who told you to touch the phone? Wait, I'm going to tell mommy you're always touching my phone. I'm going to tell daddy you're always playing with the phone, etc. It is we are interpreting something and we are using anger now to try to control it. Okay. For example, if a teacher, when you submit an assignment, say, I can see you have copied this all. You'll be like, but ma'am, I've not copied it. Saying, of course you have copied it all. I know from where you've taken all these type of things. And especially when you have not copied it, you will be very angry. You may not want to talk to this professor or this teacher. But deep down, what you're saying is, I'm feeling guilty. In a sense, I'm feeling blamed for something I've not done. I have truly spent time doing this article. I've gone and searched on different websites. I've gone and read different articles. I've studied different things. I've researched different things. And I'm not doing it because I feel guilty. I'm doing it because I feel angry.
Father Talan, you have muted yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So the same thing is applying to that. So we are automatically trying to interpret certain situations as a result of which, okay. Now, for example, there may be a lot of things that we're trying to protect. There could be shame, there could be grief. Sometimes when we are very sad, something has really happened. Sometimes anger can protect us. Okay. Most of the time, anger is used to protect us when we are frightened. Okay. For example, when you're going on the road, sometimes you'll find dogs fighting with each other. You see the dog, which is mostly, what do you call it, snarling and showing its teeth and all, will most likely be the one that is most frightened because it's trying to use that to protect itself. It is trying to use that to basically keep the other dogs from hurting it. So most of the time it is frightened, and as a result of which it is trying to automatically use this to show I'm strong by showing aggression, showing a certain amount of ferocity, etc. But actually they're frightened. So there may be panic, there may be the humiliation, pressure, anxiety, a lot of things. What we say is the iceberg, like an iceberg. What you see at the top is just little bit. What is actually down is something much more. And that's where the main problem is. We are not seeing what is really inside us. We are only seeing the top. And most people only see the top. Okay. And that's where we have to look at it. Especially now you have to look at it over a period of time. Don't expect to get in one day an answer to anger. See, how do you operate? Are you all the time very angry? Are you all the time very aggressive if you don't get something, etc.? How do you operate? You need to see. Okay, and once you're able to see that, a lot of things will happen. Okay, okay. It's like a volcano too. For example, is like a volcano doesn't erupt every day. It'll keep boiling and boiling and boiling and boiling till finally, after a couple of years, you'll find an eruption. And that's the same thing with anger. That's the same thing with almost any feeling, but especially anger. It basically means that when we keep suppressing it, it'll suddenly come out in a way that we not even know it is happening. And we ourselves will be shocked. Why am I shouting at this person? But it's the little bit of incidents that have been collecting over a period of time that tend to erupt. And that's why dealing with anger is so important. We need to understand things happening in us so that they don't keep pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down to the extent that it becomes so bubbly that any small thing happens, we tend to erupt. Okay. For example, you may see sometimes a person who has had a very difficult time at work, struggle at work, or got firing from the boss, or was not able to do something, comes home and starts shouting at somebody else at home. A form of displacement. Basically means there's so much of anger that he or she does not know how to let it out, and as a result of which, they tend to shout at people. Okay. Um, Another very important thing I didn't say to you is that anger, like any other emotion or feeling, is an energy. It comes up as an energy, and once you find a way to release it from your system, automatically that energy becomes something better. You're able to be a little more, you know, relaxed. Okay. For example, teachers. You have noticed in school sometimes the teacher, something happens, it gives you a tight slap for not doing some work or you're talking in class. They're not angry in that extent. The fact is that slap is to release the anger. Once that is over, they tend to feel relaxed. But then they feel guilty after that. So what we are trying to do now in this couple of points that I'll give you is to try to control anger to the extent of letting it out of your system. Once it is out of your system, it can't affect you again. If it affects you again, means it has not come out of your system completely. So what do you normally do? Okay, so that is briefly how anger operates like any other feeling. Okay, it's an energy. And as long as that energy is trapped within us, it will have to come out. Um, a very simple example to show you this, how it affects us even physically. Um, a couple of years ago, I'd gone for a particular course, and over there, we were having a kind of a group therapy together. There was one person who, for almost 20 or 30 years, had a back problem. Okay, very severe back problem, had a very tough time sitting down. Okay, so wherever time she went, she had to use a cushion. So she had to sit down, and it was painful for her for more than 15, 20 minutes to sit down. So this person who was guiding us, the priest, he brought this person. He says, "Would you like to talk about the thing?" She said, "Okay, fine." And they worked, and they went back somewhere in the time, almost the time when the back pain started, and they found out that somebody had harmed her in a way, physically harmed her, and she had so much of anger towards that person that from that day onwards, the anger got trapped inside because she did not know how to bring it out. And after that, the priest managed to do something with her, some exercises with her, and they brought the anger out. It's now 5 years approximately. There's absolutely no back pain for her. Just disappeared. Which means how much this energy trapped in us can cause so much of pain in our lives if we have not dealt with it. And if most of us are around 20 plus, look at how many years of emotions you're carrying and carrying and carrying into your future. And that's, if you're not careful, can cause so many problems. There's so many things like diabetes, cholesterol, other things. To some extent are physical, but almost 90% of them are related to a lot of anxiety and other suppressed feelings within us. And that's why we need to find ways to do it, especially anger, which can cause a lot of damage if it is stuck there. Okay, what can you do? Okay, I've given you briefly what is the thing. What can I do? One is to find ways to basically exercise. They say one way, if you're upset, try to find time to go out, take a walk, settle things so that your mind is a little more free. As long as that is, because they say there's endorphins that are normally released in the system when we exercise, which make us feel nice. Okay, that is the first part. We have to also work with the anger if it has been over a period of time with certain people who have continuously been causing problems for us. Yes, then we have to take it a little more seriously. But in generally, sometimes you're just traveling by train, somebody bumps you, and you get very upset. You can just take a walk and try to find time to heal that. Okay. Another thing is very important is communication. Most of the time, when I have clients coming to me, about 30 to 40% of them really don't want anything from me. They don't want any solution. They don't want any counseling, nothing. They just get the time to share it with me. And once that communication happens and they are able to release it out, there's so much of relaxation, there's so much of peace. And the same time with anger. If we have people in our lives who we can truly communicate with, I mean, I know it's very hard to say this because every day if you get angry, you can't keep on calling up this person. It will be a nuisance to him or her. But to at least communicate it. Say, like, I'm very angry with this person did this and things like that. And once we're able to reveal it or communicate it out, the energy starts to come out. And after that, we find ourselves feeling more and more relaxed. Okay. So let us take a couple of things we can do. I just now said walking, walking is not just because walking will help you. just bring in chemicals to help you feel good. What walking will actually do is give you time to think. So rather than react, which as I said, like, we just hit without thinking, to respond and say, okay, what is happening? Why this person did this? So for example is challenge yourself. Say, okay, why am I getting so angry? What has this person done that is making me feel so angry? You know, all that is very important to you to learn. For example, what is the source of your irritation? We'll talk about this a little more later. What is the cause of your anger? As I said, it is protecting something much more that is within. What is really making you angry? This person talked rudely to me. Okay, is that why you're angry? Or by talking rudely to me, this person has shown disrespect to me. This person has shown that he or she does not care for me. So that's my interpretation which is causing me to behave. Is it really the truth? Maybe that person must have just been having a bad day and may have not intended to be like that with you, to be rude with you. But if it's over a period of time, then there are different things we can also see to see that. So what is the degree also? Now, what makes you angry? What causes you to be very angry? And what causes you to be angry? There's a big difference between the two. So you have to also see the depth of it, how strong it is, to see why you're getting so and so upset. Okay, and that's what I said, meditation. You don't have to sit down always in prayer in one corner of the room and just reflect on it. Take a walk, because that walking does a big thing, especially when you do it in nature. I know because of the lockdown, a lot of restrictions in us going out, and now the monsoons have started, etc. But to be able to even spend 15 minutes with yourself, if you're going through something, just take a walk. Nature has a way of basically linking itself with us. And through that, we'll get a lot of relief, a lot of relaxation. At the same time, the mind is thinking before we act. And we have to make that effort. As I said, if anger can be a choice for you, you're choosing it, you have to also make a choice to control yourself, to try to find a way in which you can stop yourself. Okay? Okay, one very, very beautiful thing to do, and I've used it with a lot of people, is to keep an anger diary. If you're the type who gets angry every day, which means every day, what caused your anger? You know, this person shouted at me. Okay, how did you feel? I felt very angry. Okay, where were you feeling the anger? I don't know, I feel the anger in my chest, or I was feeling the anger in my stomach. I was just feeling it, things like that. What were the thoughts going on? So if you can keep this every day, you make it a kind of right for yourself, a kind of thorough commitment that every day I will spend time, whatever has happened in my day, and keep track of it. Over a period of time, you will begin to see a trend, and this becomes very helpful for you, because once you see the trend, you'll automatically be able to understand, okay, fine, this is what I need to do, and this is how I need to control it, and where I need to really see what is happening in my life. Okay. Okay, I have given this. I've had a lot of clients during this lockdown period, because I've linked with a particular institution where they have phone a counselor, and majority of them have asked to write letters. People who have hurt them in the past. Just write a letter. Trust me, 80% of your anger will just disappear in a matter of minutes, because you're giving a chance for your energy to come out. See, I give you an example of teachers slapping. What does the slap do? The slap is releasing energy. The moment I hit, there's a lot of release of tension from the body, and the energy comes out. And the same thing you can do with writing. Suppose somebody has really hurt you. I am literally putting it as a challenge across to you. Just take a piece of paper, think of anyone who has caused a lot of pain, and just write everything that comes to your mind. Don't control your words. Say, I feel so angry with you. The day you did this to me, how dare you? Just let it flow out. I'm willing to lose anything. You will feel a certain amount of relief. And if you do the letter at least 3 or 4 times, if it's a very severe case, within the third letter, you will find yourself feeling, oh my gosh, why am I even angry with this person? Why did I even get angry? Because the energy has come out, that negative thing that has been struggling with. And that's what it is. There are so many people I found being benefited. They say, we're feeling so relaxed, Father. Okay, I'm not saying this, it's a technique that has been used for ages, so it's not my technique. But the fact is, it is giving people a chance to communicate. Most of the time, I said, you may not have somebody to communicate with. So this is the best way to do it. Just write a letter to a particular person who has caused it. Sometimes you can even dialogue with your anger. Why do you exist in me? What are you doing in my life? Why is it that every time something happens like this, you're always there to, come on the scene? Talk to your anger. Speak to it. speak, because we have to realize that there's only one person who can heal us of all our problems, and that is ourselves. All the answers we have to any problem in our life exist within us. It is just that we have to learn to tap it. Very often we have it. I remember a couple of days ago, not days, months ago, I just got up feeling so angry, and I took a diary and I started writing. About 3 pages, I only wrote angry, 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 angry. That was the only word that you will see over there. Just angry, angry, angry. And after that, I don't even know why I got angry with that person. But it is to release it from our system, to let it come out of us. And that's how you can help yourself heal. So always try to keep a diary where you can dialogue with yourself or just speak about how your day has gone. Okay. Another thing you can do is draw your anger. Okay, sounds funny, but it works. You can just take crayons and just paint and just say, this is my anger and things like that. Because as I said, as long as your hand is touching the page or coming out, there is energy flowing out into the page. So the same effect of writing a letter, the same effect of dialoguing, that even drawing can do. I had one client recently and had a tough time for her. And she said, I love to draw. So I said, okay, fine. As our next thing, we will just draw. I said, every day, make a commitment that for 20 to 30 minutes, almost after the 2 weeks when she spoke to me again, she said, Father, I'm feeling much more relaxed because I just feel, things are coming out. That's it. It doesn't mean that she has to depend on me all the time. What I'm saying is she's been able to release all that pent up of maybe a couple of years of struggles and suffering. And that's what you can do. Find a way to just bring it out on a piece of paper or to just share it out. I know if you take all the things that have happened in our past, I think we'll have 1 year of only writing letters because there'll be so much to come out. Okay, but that's the effort we are all to take if we truly want to heal ourselves. Okay, and therefore, anger, when we're talking about this, is it takes a great amount of courage. It takes a great amount of responsibility. Okay, as I said, oh, he made me angry. Let him come and say sorry. She made me angry. Let her come and say sorry. That's not the way with anger. We have to take responsibility for what is happening. Okay, it is our responsibility to heal. I'll give you a very humorous example. Let us say now after this talk, you're going back, okay, or you're going out somewhere, and there's a big fight that is taking place between the police and the robbers. Okay, and there's shooting going on, and you're trying to hide, and while you're trying to hide, you finally find you're shot in the arm, one bullet has come. Now, at that moment, the biggest thing for you is to find a way to maybe stop the wound. You'll tie with kerchief, or you'll try to go and find a rickshaw to take you to the nearest hospital because you're worried about what that bullet will do to you. I can guarantee you, none of you will stand there and say, who shot me? Bring that fellow to me, let him come to me. He's the one who shot me. He should take me to the hospital first and let him pay for my bill over there. You're not worried about who shot you. You're worried about the bullet in you because the bullet is going to cause pain for you. And that's the same with anger. If we are going to put all the responsibility on other people to come and say sorry for us, we are going to be like this. The anger in us will cause a certain amount of damage. Okay? And very often, people who don't want to do this will find excuses. What is father saying? Write diary. Who has time to write diary every day? Who has time to go and do this? Who has time to do that? If on a most tiring day for yourself, you can find time to eat because you know how important it is for you, then if you truly want, you can also find time to spend in a day with regard to healing yourself. As we said, we're looking at mental health. Okay, and mental health has a lot to do with what is going on within us. If there's anxiety in your system, your internal system, your mind will always be thinking anxious thoughts. If you're relaxed and peaceful within, your mind will always be thinking peaceful and relaxing thoughts. Okay, and that's something. I'll give you a very clear example to explain to you how, if we are not careful, how many years it can remain in us and we will not even know it. In the year 2001, I had gone back to complete my college studies because I joined after my 13th. So I had 2 years to complete in the society. So I went back, okay, and this was in 2001. And I knew some people because they were all my family friends over there. And there was a group, this one girl there, she belonged to a group. And in this group, there was a girl by the name of Namrata. Okay, and we got close, we were talking to each other. She give me her notes and things like that because had a double class because some of the classes were mixed up. So I couldn't attend all the classes and I needed notes. And so she would give me the notes and things like that. Then I'd gone for my retreat, and when I came back, I just entered my room. I kept my bag down, and the phone rang, and I suddenly got a call from this friend of mine to tell me that Namrata died in a car crash. Okay, now I was shocked. I was like really, really so sad that I was like crying for some time and things like that. It was a very painful time for me. After some time, this was now 14 years later on, 14, 15 years. Her parents are involved in the marriage preparation course, and they told me, Turnan, we need a priest for the weekend. So can you come over? We'll show you what has to be done and things like that. I said, okay, fine. I'm free those days. I'll come. So I went with them. I went to the house, and they showed me everything, how the dynamics, when the priest talks and everything. And after everything was over, they said, okay, fine, let's have lunch. So I just looked up there and I saw Namrata's photo on the wall, and I found tears coming in my eyes. Okay, now this is 2015 I'm doing this, so which is almost 14 years after this. So I said, okay, fine. And I was going for my retreat in the month of May, same year, Premanjali. So my director told me, why don't you work with this particular thing? So I began to work with that incident. I said, why am I thinking of her? Why was I crying? And the amount of anger that I was experiencing, my whole face was burning with heat, and that was in the month of May, first of all. So burning, and I'm like quite shocked. I'm like, why am I feeling so much of anger? If I at all have to feel something, it should mostly be sadness. Because obviously I miss her presence. Her parents also talk about what a lovely person she used to be and things like that. And I'm feeling anger instead of sadness. And then I realized at the time she died, I was so sad. I had no time to be angry with her cousin. Her cousin was the one driving the car. Okay, and he was driving it so fast that it was impossible to cover the distance he wanted to cover. So at one part, when lady came on the road, and to avoid the whole car, he turned the car and it toppled. And there were 10 of them in the car. Only she died. 9 of them are living till today. At that moment, the shock was so much. I had no time to be angry. So my anger got suppressed down. After 14 years, just by looking at this particular person, photo was enough for the anger to get triggered. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to tell you when I say triggers. What is it that makes this anger come out all the time? Is it certain people, certain behaviors, etc.? All that becomes very important, because the more it's quite a task. Don't expect it to be an walk in the park, like within 1 2 days you learn how to deal with anger. It takes years and years to prepare. Okay, and therefore that's what we need to do. We have to take the responsibility for this. So I think that's in brief. These are one of the best ways to actually cope with anger, to deal with anger. And I think that can help you in a long, long way if you really make that effort. Okay. I was asked certain questions. Okay. Now, what is the best way to control anger? Okay. Actually, there's no particular way to control anger. I've given you a lot of ways. So one is to see your triggers. What causes you? Um, how have you basically developed? Okay, I'll give you a better example. When we see a trend happening in us, it becomes easy to. Whenever I was riding a bike, okay, all this time, any car that almost banged me, I used to get so angry, almost like imagining hitting the driver and things like that. And like, no, in the mind, this was going on and on for a couple of minutes or maybe even an hour. After some time, I said, why am I getting so angry? This person has not harmed me, may have harmed me. And then as I began to see the trend in my life, I realized I'm the only child. Okay, no brothers, no sisters. And I lost my father when I was 1. And my mother looked after me. So there was a lot of care given to me. I was very, very protected. Like, a lot of protection in a way. So as a result of which, I was always frightened that I will be hurt. So this stayed with me for almost even now as a priest at times. But once I was able to understand this thing doesn't affect me. If something happens and I get angry, immediately I'll say, okay, fine. Are you feeling a little insecure? Are you feeling a little frightened? It's okay. Finished. In a matter of minutes, that anger has gone out. There is no longer those thoughts going on of this type of thing. So if we are able to understand why these thoughts come, why these feelings come, in a way, 50% of your work is already done. Okay. So what has been doing? Okay, taking a walk, as I mentioned, writing it out. I find writing out a very, very strong thing. You can keep a diary. There are a lot of techniques that you can use in that particular way. But find a way to even communicate, to talk, you know, it is very, very important. will always help you. Sometimes embarrassing situations which makes you angry, you can make a joke about it. It also works, you know, because see, whenever like we have an insulting situation, embarrassing situation, we think people are laughing at us. But if I make a joke out of it, then all I see is people laughing with me. So tomorrow, let us say I'm coming out of the school and I slip and I fall, and I fall in the mud over there because it's monsoon. All the children will be laughing, laughing, laughing. And then what happens to me? I'm so embarrassed. I say, hey, stop it. What do you think? Can't you see no respect we have for elders and things like that? I will keep screaming. But if I learn to make a joke out of it and say, Ari Baba, I'm practicing for the Olympics now. The Olympics are coming up now. So I'm practicing skiing or whatever. There's nothing to be frightened about. There's nothing to be angry about because I'm laughing at what has happened. So if they laugh at me, they're only laughing with me. So that's the big difference sometimes when we are able to make, a joke about certain things in life. Somebody dies in your house, doesn't mean you have to make a joke about it. Okay, it doesn't mean all the time. What I meant is certain embarrassing situations where you tend to feel very upset and very, insulted and you want to shout at somebody. It can help sometimes to even look at it in a humorous way. Okay, that has worked for me in a couple of things. Um, is it bad to get angry? Was one of the questions asked. Um, it's not angry. Is as I mentioned, anger doesn't have any particular good or bad qualities to it. It is basically all about how we respond. So if we use anger and we let anger take control of us, where we begin to react and shout and scream and hurt people, then it is bad. But if you're able to realize, wait, I am angry, I have a right to be angry, and I'm grateful and thankful for my body for making me angry and helping me see this, there's a chance you'll find yourself a little more in control. Can it harm our health? I gave you that example of that one particular person for so many years, almost 30 years, back problems, you can imagine. A lot of harm can be done. So that's what I'm saying. It's quite an effort to take it out. And the younger you are, the more you will benefit if you can remove all these things right now. See, what have I given you are just ways in which you can do it. Okay, I cannot push it down your throat. But the more you are able to start doing this, making efforts to even keep a diary or trying to see some of the dynamics, it becomes a trend in you. Then you will never really require a book in the future, because the moment something happens, I'm feeling this because he did this, I'm feeling this and all. Within a matter of minutes, that feeling will just disappear because it has understood that you have understood what it wanted to tell you. It told you that you're feeling insulted. Okay, fine. Thank you. I will work with it. So that's what we can do. So we have to be careful. It's not good, neither is it bad. The fact is, are we able to understand what it is trying to tell us? Okay. Yeah, you have to also find ways in which you can express anger, talk to people, share it out. As I mentioned, communication is a very strong way of healing things. And I think that is one of the best ways to heal anger. So this is basically how anger operates and some of the techniques that you could use to help yourself. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Father. So
Welcome.
there are few more questions. So
Yes.
the first question is: does a feeling of being threatened or insecurity result in a larger possibility of us being angry?
Very much. The question is, we have fear because we don't trust certain things happening in our life, no? So automatically fear will make anger because we want to keep people at bay. We want to protect ourselves. So the question is, why are you frightened? What are you frightened about? That's the question you need to ask yourself. What are my fears? As I gave you this example, my fear was being left on the road, nobody there to care for me, nobody there to look after me. So I was to get angry because I was frightened. Once I realized that is not a real fear, okay, fine, there are a lot of things I can do if I get hurt. Automatically the anger becomes things. So we can have a lot of that happening if you're not careful.
Okay, thank you, Father. The next question is: some days we just feel angry and we do not know the reason behind it or the person who it is directed towards. What do we do in such a case?
See, the thing is, it's not that you do not know, you have not actually understood what the real reason is. So as I mentioned, the more you try to find ways to deal with what is really happening. One way to deal with what this question is, the answer is just say, I got angry with this person. Okay. Why did I get angry? This person did this. Okay. This person say shouted at me. Why was I angry? Because the person shouted at me, because the person disrespected me. So what happens if the person disrespect me? The person means it doesn't care for me, doesn't love me, etc. You'll get the real answer. So you may either feeling not loved, not cared for, you know, these are different things that are at the root. So we can feel that moment. Yes, I know we all have those experiences where just feeling upset. But actually, if you feel upset for no rhyme or reason, it means there are many things happening within you which you're not aware of, and you have to find a way to bring it out of your system. So I would say there is things happening. Just have to find, develop an awareness to be able to pull it out from within. It
Okay,
works.
thank you, Father. The next question is, it is natural that I feel angry with my parents, not for any immediate reasons, but for some unknown reason. I don't know if whether it is because they were strict in my childhood or any other reason.
Yeah. So I would say there has to be a reason. Otherwise, anger won't exist. So as you said, if they were strict in you in your childhood, okay, what did you find them doing in that moment? When they were strict with you, what did you find them doing to that particular person? Which made this person feel? Most likely you'll feel that they don't respect me, they didn't love me, etc. Could be one thing. So most of our anger and things towards people have come from our childhood. Okay, so I would say the past does have a role to play, but it cannot be random. There is certain things that are there. As I said, it's a process that the further we go to see the roots of our anger, the better it would be. So one of the things is dialoguing with anger. Okay, when I use this word, for example, say dialoguing, um, you're not supposed to think when you dialogue. Suppose say anger. Suppose I'm writing. So say I'm Ternan. So I put T and then I put A for anger. We have done dialogue in school and in college sometimes for our exams. So the point here is when you're writing, you don't think too much. Suppose you say, anger. Why are you always entering into my life? Now you don't stop and say, okay, fine. Now what will anger say? You don't let your conscious mind come into play. You let your unconscious mind come into play, and just write whatever answer comes to your mind. Okay. At the end of the day, if you do this the way I've said, without thinking too much, just whatever comes into your mind, you just keep writing, writing, writing. You talking to anger, you'll most likely, at least 80% for sure, get an answer to your problem. It has worked and it seems to work quite often. So it will take time. I know of a particular person, just recently I had a client who is almost 39 years, has no memory of his, right from the childhood, of his particular one parent in his life. But after doing what I just shared with you, he was able to start thinking of certain, he says, I remember this one event, I remember that one event. So the more you dialogue without thinking, you will get a certain amount of answers, maybe not full answers, but something to work with on your anger. Next.
Okay, the next question is, one second, Father. Rehan,
Yes, Simran.
actually, my questions are lost. So, can you just tell Father?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
The next question is, crying is often related to sadness, but sometimes we also cry because we are angry and mad about a particular thing. Why is it so, and how to cope up with this
You're mad about a particular,
particular thing?
yeah. See, that particular thing is what I just now spoke to you about, no? Why are you mad about that particular thing? What has happened there? Is it a particular thing? Is it a particular person? You know? See, frustration is. Now, suppose you're standing in the line for a ticket and somebody comes and you automatically get angry, no? Because you are feeling frustrated that you are standing in the line, you are standing in the heat, whatever, and somebody's coming. So you cannot be random. There is some reason always there. It is just that we have not learned to read the reason. So you will have to spend time, as I said, trying to go deeper and spend time thinking to get a reason. Nothing happens random. No feeling or emotion exists in us randomly. They have a purpose, and that's the problem. I think we have not learned to read the purpose well.
The next question, Father.
Yeah.
How can we convert our anger on our strength? I got this question. How can we convert our anger on our strength?
See, the thing is, there's no need to convert anger. Okay. You can channelize anger is a different thing, which means I let it out. As I said, you're feeling angry with somebody, you take a walk. That is channelizing it. That energy which would have come out with you screaming, shouting, or being rude to somebody, somebody, you are automatically taking a walk and letting that energy come out. So it doesn't always have to be channelizing it for something. You just release it from your system. Okay. If you're always very, very angry, you may cause harm to somebody else, even if you try to channelize it with something good. For example, there's a lot of frustration that you're going to, and you realize, okay, fine, let me go and spend some time with an orphanage, with the children over there. It's a good thing. You're getting a good release. But if you're not healing your frustration, you may start taking it out on those children over there. So the thing is to find ways to first see what the root problem is, and then if you want to channelize it, it's a different thing. But first, let it out of your system. So as I said, activities like walking, playing, games can be quite a strong way automatically of channelizing it. There's no need to indulge in any activity for the sake of that.
Okay, similar to that question, can we transfer our anger into boxing or working out like something?
I have been doing research on that, and for your information, if you're looking, you can see it hanging over there, the boxing bag. It's not something that will always happen, okay? Because as long as you don't, it will help you release the energy. But if that hurt of that, what has happened to you in the past towards a particular person still exists, it will not release that easily because the anger has to come out. Once the anger comes out, you'll find it much easier. So it's much easier to write it out on a piece of paper, dialogue with the person in the form of writing, and not texting. I don't mean writing by texting, I mean thing. Boxing does work. In a way, it does work. You can do it. But if you're going to rely on that throughout your life, you're going to have a problem. Tomorrow you are at some place and you're getting angry, you're not going to go saying, where's my boxing bag? Where's my boxing bag? Or take one of your colleagues in office and start practicing on that particular person. It won't work. What you need to find out is a much more healthy way of dealing with anger, which means you can do it at any moment in your life. So boxing works, yes, as I just showed you, I do it sometimes. It's just for thing, exercise form, but don't depend only on that, trying to find more healthy ways of removing.
Question. Okay, next question. How can I control my short temper?
You
No, how can we control our short temper?
thing is again, no, what is it that is causing you to be angry all the time? Is it because you don't have your way? You've always had your way in life, say, and I don't get it. I ask for something, I don't get it, so I get angry. Okay, I think short temper normally comes from a lot of frustration, and that is something which you need to look into. What are your frustrations in life? Why is it that you think? Once you're able to learn your frustration, there's a chance that your short temper will stop. See, another thing which I mentioned before is that we have two choices: to either respond to things that happen in our life or to react. Maybe we have learned to react all the time, as a result of which short temper is a very strong part of that. So I get frustrated, I tend to react by being very angry, shouting, screaming, things like that. And sometimes, if it's not very careful, aggression. Okay, you see sometimes children beating their parents when they don't get what they want. Okay, they have not learned to respond; they have learned more to react. So I would say short temper again has a lot of frustrations which may have to be looked into. Once those frustrations are dealt with, anger. See, anger, as I mentioned, is only telling you something. It's only a shield. Once the main thing is dealt with, that shield will by itself go off. You will not have to make an effort to be there. As I mentioned, that example of say my accident, I mean the bike riding on the road and things like that. For so many years, it was like that. Be furious, short tempered. But once I realized what the real reason was, that doesn't exist anymore. You don't have to make an effort to stop your temper. You have to just make an effort to see what is causing you so much of frustration. And with that, automatically the temper will go off.
Thank you, Father. The next question is, there are times where a situation or a person which makes you respond in anger reoccurs more often. How to deal with it?
See, the thing is, that is the way we have learned. No? Most of this behavior that you are talking about are learned behavior. We have learned to do this. So sometimes when you're dealing with anger, you're trying to manage anger, you have to find ways to cope with it in a different way. So if I've always been taught to react in this way, I have to learn to respond. So what can you do? As they say, sometimes even counting up to 20, counting up to 100, make a conscious choice to say, I'm angry, I want to respond or react. But there are certain times when you may have to do it immediately. For example, as I gave you the thing of standing in the line. If somebody comes from the thing, you will shout at that person, no? Unless you have a concrete reason for it. So the point here is deal with that and automatically the thing will settle off by itself. So whether it's a particular person or thing, it's because you have learned to react that way, you have learned to deal with it that way. deal with people that way, that it's this. So you'll have to find ways and say, okay, fine. I normally do this all the time. Can I practice stopping for 5 minutes? I mean, for 5 seconds or 10 seconds. Then make 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Make 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So finally you realize, fine. You'll reach a stage where you will say, okay, fine. I am angry. I'm very irritated. I'm very frustrated. I'm very annoyed. Okay. But I will deal with it at a certain time in my life. I'll push it aside. As I said, you have to see the situation can determine a lot. Standing in a line is one thing. A friend doesn't speaks to you rudely is another thing altogether. See where you can balance the situation to the extent where you can give yourself enough time. Or when you come home, keep your diary ready and let it out in the diary. You'll find yourself going to sleep without much problem.
Thank you. Next
Yes.
question is, can anger leads to mental illness?
Mental illness quite a lot. Okay. Because I think when we look at mental illness, there may be other things, but it is a lot of suppressed emotions. Plenty of suppressed emotions, and as a result of which mental illness can happen because we are not able to cope with so many emotions happening at one time. That could be. Okay, there are other reasons for mental illness, but suppressed emotions can cause a lot of that. And that's what I'm trying to tell you all is by dealing with these emotions, now you're protecting yourself from carrying all these emotions into your future where you will have more and more problems happening later on. So if you're not careful, yes, mental health is affected by these emotions, especially anger that we have towards people. Okay. Next.
So last question, how can I stop repressing my anger? How
How
can
can
I
you
stop
stop
repressing my
repressing? See, the thing is, that's I said, welcome it. Talk to your anger. Find ways to say it's okay to get angry. I have a right to my anger. You have a right to get angry, please. But I'm not saying push anger aside. Never try to push anger aside. It'll never work like that. It'll keep coming at you again and again. Learn to talk to your anger. Learn to say, as I said, to that process, no, why am I angry? What is causing me to be angry? And as you come to a process where you see the depth, you will learn. You don't have to suppress it. You just have to learn to accept it. The moment you accept the fact that I am angry and I have a right to be angry and happy to be angry, but now let me see what my anger is telling me and I be able to find out the root causes, you will not need to suppress it. The anger will remain as up at the surface level, and once you deal with the problem, it will come out. So you have to learn to speak to your anger, to find time to talk to anger. Okay? The more it is done in the form of a book, the better. Otherwise, I don't want you all to walk on the road talking to yourselves and things like that. So that may be an issue. But learn to mentally say, okay, fine, this person is angry. Because you should learn by some stage, within a matter of minutes, to let it out of your system. Suppression. Yes. Hello.
continue further?
Yeah. No. So that's it. I'm saying suppression happens when we are willfully trying to push it into our system. So find a way to basically confront your anger, to accept your anger. That's one of the most important things, to accept it. You have a right to get angry, but you have a right to also choose how you want to respond to that anger. So that is your choice. Never try to suppress it. It will not work.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Father. I think that's it. So now I request Winner to come forward and give the vote of thanks to Father.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. As all good things must come to an end, so is this seminar. On behalf of all the participants, I thank our resource person for the Ternan SJ giving us such an informative session on anger management. We appreciate and thank you for making time for us from all our busy schedules to speak to us. Thank you, Father. Heartfelt thanks to everyone who participated in today's seminar. A special thank you once again to Father for spending this Sunday evening with us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.